Faculty of Science and Humanities, Film and Media Studies. Students connect with a holistic learning environment, enjoy a vibrant campus life and experience all-round experiential learning in collaboration with leading industry players. The Institute is recognized nationally for its excellence in placement and higher education. SRM Ramapuram offers the students an ecosystem to support entrepreneurship, sports and inspire students in all their extracurricular endeavors. Conveniently located within Chennai city, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram. Learn, lead, lead. SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram is a world-leading institution pioneering in education since 2004. SRM Ramapuram is embracing technologies for the best learning experience. Specialized programs in electronics and communication engineering, civil engineering, information technology, mechanical engineering, electrical and electronics engineering, computer science engineering, architecture and design, dentistry, Faculty of Science and Humanities, Film and Media Studies. Students connect with a holistic learning environment, enjoy a vibrant campus life and experience all-round experiential learning in collaboration with leading industry players. The Institute is recognized nationally for its excellence in placement and higher education. SRM Ramapuram offers the students an ecosystem to support entrepreneurship, sports and inspire students in all their extracurricular endeavors. Conveniently located within Chennai city, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram. Learn, lead, lead. SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram is a world-leading institution pioneering in education since 2004. SRM Ramapuram is embracing technologies for the best learning experience. Specialized programs in electronics and communication engineering, civil engineering, information technology, mechanical engineering, electrical and electronics engineering, computer science engineering, architecture and design, dentistry, Faculty of Science and Humanities, Film and Media Studies. Students connect with a holistic learning environment, enjoy a vibrant campus life and experience all-round experiential learning in collaboration with leading industry players. The Institute is recognized nationally for its excellence in placement and higher education. SRM Ramapuram offers the students an ecosystem to support entrepreneurship, sports and inspire students in all their extracurricular endeavors. Conveniently located within Chennai city, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram. Learn, lead, lead. SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram is a world-leading institution pioneering in education since 2004. SRM Ramapuram is embracing technologies for the best learning experience. Specialized programs in electronics and communication engineering, civil engineering, information technology, mechanical engineering, electrical and electronics engineering, computer science engineering, architecture and design, dentistry, Faculty of Science and Humanities, Film and Media Studies. Students connect with a holistic learning environment, enjoy a vibrant campus life and experience all-round experiential learning in collaboration with leading industry players. The institute is recognized nationally for its excellence in placement and higher education. SRM Ramapuram offers the students an ecosystem to support entrepreneurship, sports and inspire students in all their extracurricular endeavors. Conveniently located within Chennai city, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram. Learn, lead, lead. SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram is a world-leading institution pioneering in education since 2004. SRM Ramapuram is embracing technologies for the best learning experience. Specialized programs in electronics and communication engineering, civil engineering, information technology, mechanical engineering, electrical and electronics engineering, computer science engineering, architecture and design, dentistry, Faculty of Science and Humanities, film and media studies. Students connect with a holistic learning environment, enjoy a vibrant campus life and experience all-round experiential learning in collaboration with leading industry players. The institute is recognized nationally for its excellence in placement and higher education. SRM Ramapuram offers the students an ecosystem to support entrepreneurship, sports and inspire students in all their extracurricular endeavors. Conveniently located within Chennai city, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram. Learn, lead, lead. SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram is a world-leading institution pioneering in education since 2004. SRM Ramapuram is embracing technologies for the best learning experience. Specialized programs in electronics and communication engineering, civil engineering, information technology, mechanical engineering, electrical and electronics engineering, computer science engineering, architecture and design, dentistry, Faculty of Science and Humanities, film and media studies. Students connect with a holistic learning environment, enjoy a vibrant campus life and experience all-round experiential learning in collaboration with leading industry players. The institute is recognized nationally for its excellence in placement and higher education. SRM Ramapuram offers the students an ecosystem to support entrepreneurship, sports and inspire students in all their extracurricular endeavors. Conveniently located within Chennai. SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram is a world-leading institution pioneering in education since 2004. SRM Ramapuram. SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram is a world-leading institution pioneering in education since 2004. SRM Ramapuram is embracing technologies for the best learning experience. Specialized programs in electronics and communication engineering, civil engineering, information technology, mechanical engineering, electrical and electronics engineering, computer science engineering, architecture and design, dentistry, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram is a world-leading institution pioneering in education since 2004. SRM Ramapuram is embracing technologies for the best learning experience. Specialized programs in electronics and communication engineering, civil engineering, information technology, mechanical engineering, electrical and electronics engineering, computer science engineering, architecture and design, dentistry, Faculty of Science and Humanities, film and media studies. Students connect with a holistic learning environment, enjoy a vibrant campus life and experience all-round experiential learning in collaboration with leading industry players. The Institute is recognized nationally for its excellence in placement and higher education. SRM Ramapuram
Center, and they were made for industry. So we had an industrial partner and a research partner that from government that essentially funded the project. Then I will be discussing blockchain and decentralized ledgers as infrastructure for design and how this can change the whole game in terms of design and construction globally. And then I will go into discussing laser scan and drones and how these can create virtual 3D work for architecture. And I'll close with one project from the MSc Advanced Architectural Design work from last year, but also the invitation to collaborate potentially in the next semester. So as you probably realized, I'm an active architect, but at the same time, I hold a PhD in generative systems, and I'm active in terms of research in building the tools of the future for the built environment and for architecture. And all of that is always feeding into teaching and learning within the university here in beautiful Aberdeen. One of the things that has emerged essentially as a tool for collaboration in the latest years is a design for manufacturing, assembly, and potentially disassembly, right? The fourth industrial revolution is bringing forward an embedding of digital practices within physical aspects. And one of the things that we have realized that will essentially radically change the built environment is the idea that we will no longer fabricate buildings only using traditional processes, but we will have to design them so that they are manufactured off-site and assembled essentially on-site, but then also disassembled and potentially having their components reused. So I'm showing here the latest competition we did last year This is a museum for the city of Athens on the area of Lekabetos. We use mainly open source tools to design, right? So you see Blender here, and you'll be able to see also, I'll be able to show the 3D model. So this is the theater that is a modernist monument, essentially, which was designed in the 1960s by a very famous and prestigious architect called Takis Zanetos in Athens. And the Ministry of Culture essentially called for a competition where we would design a new museum that would serve as the entrance for the city of Athens. So through Sketch, we developed this platform because you would be essentially able to see down below to the city, and we raised it on stilts so that we do not hurt at all the hill of Lekabetos, and we essentially designed everything using components, right? So each piece of the structure is designed so that it's fabricated, usually made out of cross-laminated timber, on-site and assembled. All of this has been made possible through research that we have done. And one of the most exciting projects I have been participating in the last 3 years is the robotic fabrication of timber components. Essentially, Construction Scotland Innovation Centre has a small building factory, and we collaborate with them. And for one company in Aberdeenshire called Glulam Solutions, we developed this friction-based joint that essentially is fabricated using a KUKA industrial robot, and all of the pieces joined together without any glue or any other kind of metal components, taking advantage essentially of the very simple friction-based joints that have been developed in the past, both in East and West. And in that, my experience in China was really beneficial because I translated some of the things I learned in from simple traditional timber construction to translate it into a fabricating project with using robot. So essentially what the robot does, it mills part of the project of the cross-laminated timber, and then we use an algorithm that will decide on how these cross-laminated timber panels will be assembled. The result of this research project is that we're launching essentially a new company, and that is going to be a spin-off of the university and Glulam Solutions that will take this technology forward so we build better buildings. The benefits and the expectations of this is the idea that we will actually have a lot less carbon emissions in a building project, essentially because we will not be using metal, but also it improves the cross-laminated timber process by eliminating mistakes, because the joints can only fit using one way. This general idea brought us forward to another discussion with another company, Rashwood, which is based on the Highlands and Islands, in the Highlands, in Scotland. So Rashwood essentially builds and processes timber cladding, and they wanted to industrialize, and they commissioned Robert Gordon University and Scott Sutherland School in a project which I lead, where we create an offsite fabricated timber panel. And we used all of the ranges of generative systems and open source tools, from Blender to Rhino and Grasshopper, but also industrial design tools to essentially take simple timber and make it into a prefabricated panel that, again, doesn't have any kind of metal components. So everything is assembled using simple geometry, which is accurately manufactured using a CNC tool. We tested all of this using essentially both the digital side, but also the physical side. So every digital prototype would actually have a physical prototype, and then we would go into a circle of feedback where what we learned from the physical prototype would be fed back again into the digital prototype in a vicious cycle to improve. The project is still ongoing, and we're now at the final stages where we are building IFC files, so industry foundation classes files for the building panels to be used by architects. And this will essentially allow you to use a building information modeling software where you drag and drop the representation of the timber panel into your project. You essentially assemble the building, and then you are able to send a bill of materials to Rashood. And through that, they are able to then rapidly manufacture your timber panels and send them back to your construction site. And I want to turn now to a project that is very dear to me because I was the initiator of this, and I think it's one of the projects where Robert Gordon University and the Scott Sutherland School are leading globally. And this is in the definition of blockchain tools for design and construction. And the problem that we're trying to solve is that if you read the latest McKinsey report from 2020, they published it in May 2020, and they were already being able to incorporate the findings from the COVID-19 situation. And they have confirmed again that the construction industry is essentially, in many cases, unproductive. It is fragmented, and in many cases, it's also adversarial, right? So all of the players within the construction industry, they do not work together, but essentially a lot of times they try to pass liability from one to another. And the thing that can solve that is blockchain, which is the infrastructure technology behind cryptocurrencies. So if you've heard of Bitcoin, essentially that is a technology, blockchain is a technology that runs the cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. But what it does, it creates a shared ledger, right? So a shared archive where we can all read and write from it. And from that point of view, every transaction needs the approval of everybody that is that has access to the blockchain. And on that, you can write software called smart contracts that regulates essentially a supply chain and can very smartly predict when things will happen in a sense. The good thing with the blockchain is that because it is secured, right, you are able to lock information, so it's an immutable ledger as well. And you see here how we can very graphically represent the idea of a project where we go from funding and a smart contract actually takes care of project financing. Then we go to the idea that the owner will procure the project, and then a series of smart contracts take care of designing the steel structure, procurement and installation and inspection. And then a smart contract goes to the contractor and decides the drawings and specifications and quality of steel. And then the fabricator will take it and install it and deliver the steel to the site. So blockchain essentially can handle the full supply chain from inception and financing until to the delivery of the site, but also can go beyond that even to handling a project post-occupancy. And essentially, it is able to do that by lodging one transaction with the previous one within blocks of information using cryptography. And you can see here on the left a representation of how this is done, right? So a transaction essentially is being hashed using a cryptographic algorithm, and then this is embedded with in a block, and the cryptographic hash of, say, transaction B here actually goes to transaction C. Hence, we get the term of a chain of blocks where each block contains the cryptographic hash of the previous one. On the right, you can see a network of nodes, and this is a representation of the Ethereum blockchain, which is the one we use within the project that I'm leading called arcchain.cc. One of the latest papers that was published of the lab that was published in October this year that deals essentially with a framework for decentralized architectural design. And what we've done is we've set up a series of blockchain smart contracts where the participants share risk and reward. So instead of having an architectural design team that is with very low numbers, you can essentially create through smart contracts a design problem and then publish it on the blockchain, and then architects from all over the world can either collaborate or compete for the rewards, kind of like a mini architectural design competition for each part of the project. Now, the good thing is that this doesn't happen for free, right? Every competition or collaboration you set up on the blockchain can actually be paid. And through that, if you elect to use this tool, you can create payment incentives for everybody that solves your problem. And this is the prototype that we built and published in the International Journal of Architectural Computing, as I said, this October, where a design optimization problem in the form of a structural optimization run on Rhino and Grasshopper is connected with a blockchain, and you send the optimized value. And then through a web interface, the problem owner essentially can award a specific amount of funding to the person who solved the problem. And this is an abstract representation of how this can work in terms of collaboration, right? So we have essentially here 3 designers, and each of their solutions is recorded on the blockchain. When they find an optimized solution, the system actually notes designers' 2 contribution, but also syncs their solution to the other designers. So it lets them know that designer 2 has found a really good solution. So here are the files. And then they keep on working through those files. And then later on, designer 3 finds a new solution. And so on and so forth, right? So then the system then again synchronizes everybody. And this happens automatically, but also you have no fear in terms of your ideas being stolen or not being given credit. And this leads to the generation of a model that we are now trying to develop through the tools, through connecting tools like Revit and Dynamo and Rhino and Grasshopper with Ethereum blockchain, where essentially you no longer need the creation of a common document environment, but essentially the blockchain handles this for you and coordinates the files between software, but also records the additional value that you bring to the project every time you make a change. And as I said, this brings forward new business models for intellectual property for architects, because essentially any kind of novel, let's say, building component that you might want to develop, you no longer need to keep it a secret, right? All of the projects that you develop, you can actually publish on the blockchain in the form of tokens, and anybody who uses those tokens then has to pay for their use. And from that point of view, we can essentially publish intellectual property and monetize it. And when someone uses it, they have to give credit, but also pay us. Taking the concept of decentralized building information modeling further, right, we are able to create essentially new ways to handle building components and create a circular economy. So with my colleague Vasen Jabi, we've set out a connection where a building can be tokenized. And what is a token? A token essentially is a piece of information that describes a building component. And what we're doing at the moment is we're using a software that has been written by Vasim called Topologic. And we connect essentially, to take a step back, Topologic can allow the representation of complex building information models using very simple information, right? So it uses a graph, and by using a graph, which you can see here, we are able to assign a token to each of the building components. So here I have a very simple representation of a cell, that then each cell can be broken down into the edges and faces that contain a room. But what does that allow us to do? If you combine this technology with what I was discussing in the beginning, the design for manufacture and assembly, you have both components of a circular economy. You have the physical artifact, and then you have the digital token. So when I take a building apart and I disassemble it, what I'm able to do is I'm able to take the digital token and then pass ownership of the digital token to the new owner, right? So if I recycle a building, I can keep track through the blockchain of where all of the components have gone. So essentially through this, we're using advanced digital twins and connecting building information modeling with the blockchain. We're able to create not only new business models, but also business models that are good for the environment, essentially because through a circular economy, we will be reusing building components. All of this was rewarded in 2018. So the tools we were building, we put to the test in terms of designing a new city in China. So there was a competition called the Elong Futuristic City, and we used our design tools and concepts to design a city based on blockchain technologies. And we were very happy to receive the third award internationally out of 1,048 entries. And one of the concepts that we used within the design of the city was the idea that the excess heat from the blockchain would be used essentially to heat buildings within the city. So all of the computers that would generate additional heat by processing transactions would be based strategically in data centers in various parts of the city, and then the excess heat would be used to take care of all of the heating energy that we were using there. Now, all of this is being used within our university. So we publish the tools, but also we use them within the classes and courses that we deliver through Scott Sutherland. And one of the kind of main ideas is that we connect as much as possible the teaching and learning, as I said, with an excellent record of practice and research. And one of the things that the school has as a tradition is that we try to work across disciplines, and we have an excellent course in quantity surveying where we have developed a series of papers and expertise on laser scanning. And you see here one of our latest projects where we were scanning the built environment and part of the cultural environment in Fraserburgh, where this is a city a little bit north from Aberdeen. And you see one of the, in front here, a laser scanner, which looks like a really small alien having landed. And you see one of the safety measures that exist to alert mariners, essentially, if they're close to the coast. And on the picture on the right, you see all of the equipment the university has, where we take data from laser scanning and drone surveying, and we create 3D models for our courses, but also for our research, right? So from right to left, right? So you see the laser scanner, you see our Matrix 200 that has also a photographic camera. You see the laptop that we use in the field, and then processing the data that we get through the laser scanner, through laser pointers, and the drone. We are able then to create 3D models and then input these into building information modeling tools, create a model, and then experience the model using VR. If we have some time in the end, I'd like to show you a couple of models. So this is an example of taking the architecture students out and using the laser scanner and the drone at the same time. I was one flying the drone, and you'll see in, so I'm actually located here. So I don't know if you can see my cursor. So we're flying here, and then here are people using the laser scanner. So we are essentially flying the drone above this mansion. This is in Eden Park, and this is the Eden Park mansion. It was built and converted in the 18th century and then 19th century, but a fire devastated part of the internal structure. And in our rests as a public category A listed building. So within the studio, we asked the students to take this relic and the walls of the listed building and build a new design and design the building essentially for a cultural center for the Doric culture. We call the northeast of Scotland Doric because the language that they use, essentially the dialect of Scots, is a little bit harsh. And from that point of view, we wanted to kind of make a play on the local culture from that point of view. And what else to actually bring the relic of Eden Park within our digital studio. So we went out and with the laser scanner and the drone, we surveyed essentially the relic. And you see here what this actually means in terms of the digital tools, right? So this is a software called Meshroom. This is completely open source, so you can download it immediately. And you see essentially all of these cameras in the air are a representation of how I flew the drone and what kind of photographs I took. At the same time, as you have the drone flying on the ground, you have a laser scanner which is being moved by hand and being positioned, and this creates a series of point clouds. So we can then again combine this and deliver a 3D model of the relic, and then the students actually use this 3D model to showcase their own project. I'm going to try and take you now to that. Hopefully it won't take too long. I hope you're able to see the 3D city.
Perfectly fine. Yeah.
Fantastic. So this is a model of the city in China, and I just wanted to show you how we are able to take essentially information from all aspects. So this was generated essentially in Rhino Grasshopper and then rendered in Blender. Blender, you're able then to put it in Sketchfab and upload it. And then this is a model of the Eden Park mansion, and you see how they use the Doric dialect. So it's called the House in Scots, a big house. And to essentially promote the Doric culture, not only did the students create a model of this, but then in SketchUp they also tagged it with the dialect that is being used within the northeast of Scotland. So if you want to learn more about what, so a window, for example, is called a winda, and a toilet is what a watery or lavy, because this is affected, this culture is affected a lot by the sea, right? A lot of the expressions are actually many times affected by the mariners working there. So the students essentially use this as the infrastructure for them to build their own project. Then I saw the concept of a student who did the same, again, using, so he used that model, but then he used his mobile phone to translate his kind of representation of what he wanted to happen in the mansion. So he used a modular design, and he used this kind of trapezoid parallelepipeds to align the walls and the openings within his solution. And this is then an early 3D scan that he did using photogrammetry and Mushroom, using just his mobile phone. And then I'm going to show you what the as close a representation of what the raw data looks like when you're using a laser scanner. So this is not a 3D model, but actually it is a point cloud. So the laser scanner works with a very fast mirror that rotates in 3 dimensions, and what it does, it shoots a laser that, hits the physical objects around it, and when it does so, it registers a point by measuring the time of that the light has taken to return. And we take all of that data and we combine it, and you can see kind of like visual doppelgangers of the students also that were handling the laser scanner. And when we combine this raw data of the point cloud with the aerial version of the model from the drone, we get the better model essentially through that process. So it's a combination of laser scanning and photogrammetry, and in many times it's a very, let's say, poetic kind of representation, almost like looking at the 19th century impressionist painting. And of course, you can use this to also be inspired in terms of the architectural design direction that you will take. And I wanted to close a little bit with indicative student work that we're doing. This is on the Masters in Advanced Architectural Design. This particular student, we had a brief where we not only used drones for surveying and photogrammetry, but essentially we wanted to showcase the potential of automated unmanned aerial vehicles for flight and transporting of passengers. But obviously to do that, you need a new type of architecture, which we call the vertiport, where you design for the inclusion of those automated unmanned aerial vehicles within the urban environment. So the brief called for the design of those vertiports, and Irfan, my student, who is now transitioning from the master's into doing a PhD as a research fellow with me, did this design based on parametric principles. And the idea here is that each of these components that you see assembled in a dome will also be assembled by using a drone. And this is actually the idea for his PhD, where we design a system that combines not only the architectural design, but also combines the methods for building those components and assembling them using a swarm of drones. And this is the result, the renders of his master's thesis. An interior of how the passengers would go for embarkation and disembarkation. And it was interesting to design these stations. And this year I expanded the briefs a little bit. So we are designing skyscrapers using low carbon technologies, but also Hyperloop stations, and we continue with the vertiports. And I just wanted to show you a pre-COVID condition of what the studio looks like in the beginning of the year, but also how creative it can be, right? And then what it looks like in the end. We are still doing courses and classes in a hybrid mode. So sometime we are in the studio, but also some other time we are essentially, most of the time we're essentially doing things online. The good thing with the Masters of Architectural Design is because we have a good enough number of students, we do all of the courses within the school, and from that point of view, we have a really nice studio culture, even with COVID. And just before I open for finish the conversation and open for discussion, I'd like to show you how exciting it can be to actually test what I've been showing you in VR. So one of our students was presenting this project within the Eden Park Mansion, and they actually built it within Revit and Dynamo, and then presented it in Enscape in full VR for our critics. So this is one of my colleagues, Callum, and he is being taken for a ride in VR through one of the proposals the students had. This year's theme of MSc in Advanced Architecture is automata. So we're looking at automation in the built environment, starting from laser scanning and going into digital and parametric design, and then into advanced building information modeling and BIM through blockchain. And I look forward to any questions you might have on what we're doing. Hopefully we'll have some really good, nice results next semester. And I'm definitely interested in discussing with you and collaborating and seeing how we could potentially even set up a workshop between teams of Scott Sutherland School and teams at your institute, because I'm very much interested in finding out what the students in the Institute of Science and Technology in the Faculty of Architecture can do and how they could challenge us. So any questions you might have, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Dr. Theo, for that presentation. Indeed, it was wonderful and nice to see a nice flavor of accent as well. And it's always nice to have different modes. That's really excellent. Wonderful. Yes. Thank you very much. And in terms of the Q&A, we will leave it towards the end. We have a very, very short presentation from our end. In terms of from Scott's grad, Kadir and myself will have a few minutes, and we'll bring on Michelle as well, who's also here with us. So that's pretty much our end. Let me just get on to the presentation. Is that all clear? Kadir, is that visible?
Yeah, Nidhi, and before that, I would like to invite Lokesh Madhivanan sir, Vice Principal, who is a dynamic visionary leader, a devoted academician, a researcher, and a brilliant mentor with strong professional experience leading the SRM architecture team. And he's also the recipient of a Construction Academy Award for Housing in 2019. And he has also received gold medal for presentation of the paper entitled Critical Regionalism and Research Day 2020 at SRM Institute of Science and Technology. He has a broader vision for the SRM department and shows immense enthusiasm and not only dedicates his effort and time towards the expansion and betterment, but also in empowering the faculty and students. Sir, it's a great pleasure to collaborate with you, and we will really look forward to for further discussions with regard to international collaborations. And we would like to invite you to share a few words about Dr. Theo's presentation, and post that we will continue with a small presentation from Scott's grad.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you for such a wonderful introduction. And am I audible? Am I audible?
Perfect.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Theos, and it was a great, great presentation, and how the 3D visualization can be done through drone, and it is a really wonderful thing to learn from you. Our students are very much interested. Already, a lot of students raised their hands for doubts and questions. And definitely we will have an interactive session, and we will have a collaborative MOUs with Scott's Grant, and I'm thanking Scott's Grant for this grand event. And as SEED, SRM SEED is going to be the city campus of SRM Ramapuram, and our chairman Dr. Ashok Kumar is the visionary leader. So under his guidance only we all doing this great events. So I will definitely thank our management for giving this opportunity. Dr. Ashok Kumar, our chairman, and director, Dr. V. Subbaya Bharati sir, and our team, and all the dignitaries, and on the days and off the days. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, and especially it was a great opportunity for us to collaborate with a great visionary like you, who has always put students' career at the forefront. Thank you very much, sir. Nidhi, over to you for the presentation.
Very well. Thank you very much, Kadir. Thanks, students, for being with us all this while. We've got another few minutes from our end in terms of our support mechanism. There's just a team of 3 of us, Kadir, myself, and Michelle. And what I'm really going to cover at this moment in time is in terms of what Scott's Grad does, and in what way we support in terms of the facilitation of movement to study to Robert Gordon University. And here in this particular slide, you would actually see it quite crowded in a minute or two. But our way of progression in terms of our conversation with students is what we call as a mentored academic progression. And what we mean by that is we don't really, just are interested in talking about what you wish to study, but we are really keen to know in terms of why. So the why is extremely very important to us. So that's the reason why there are always a few iterations before a conclusion is being made in terms of what you wish to study, because there are many pathways that you can actually choose, and what is it that exactly suits you in terms of your interest, your passion, and your knowledge, and all of that put together. And that's a dialogue that we actually go with you. And I'm going to draw your attention to the very first circle in the admission tower, where you would actually see an SME counseling. And what we mean by that primarily is we work around with mentors, and we've got almost close to 30 mentors now in different fields. We've also got Mohan here, who is a mentor for the field of architecture. And we don't pretend to be experts in all areas as a founding team of Scott's Grad. So we work around with mentors, and that's exactly how we work. And all that I'm actually presenting today is all about our services, which comes completely free of charge for students who are aspiring to study in the UK. Now, moving on to admission and travel is nothing really complicated to say that we are very unique, but that's something that pretty much everybody who's in the field of overseas education offers. But I'm going to draw your attention to the career tower. Now, that's 3 significant pieces of work that we actually do. And one is on the area of academic writing. We cover that for students before they leave the UK, at least about 2 to 3 months generally, so that they get a grip of academic writing and actually take this on quite seriously. As you know, that the master's program in the UK is a 1-year program. It's not a 2-year program. So there's a lot of things that are actually done in 1 year. So it's actually worthwhile spending a bit of time prior to departure on this particular area. The other core component that we do is also on the core module learning. Now, as I said before, we have a subject matter expert counseling. So here in the dialogue with the student, probably there will be areas that the counselor would say, well, I think it's a good idea for you to actually work on a few modules because this is an area of expertise that you probably don't have, and it's good, worthwhile to look into and learn more before you embark to the UK. So that's a component that could happen because of the areas of, a person's expertise and non-expertise. The third component is on Luminous Spark Psychometric. It's a questionnaire that comes out of the UK. We offer this completely free of charge to all those post the acquiring of the visa because it comes with a cost to us, and it comes very close to £100, and we provide that free, which comes with a 40-page report. And this one dissects you as an individual in terms of who you are and how you are to be seen as an individual and how you are likely to be different from others. And when you actually work in teams, and in fact, Dr. Theo talked about a lot in terms of the field of architecture, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot that works around in teams. So you've got to work with people, and your personalities are not going to be very much the same as what the other person is. So that's a very important component. So we do this well ahead of time. It's a product that's used very well in the corporate world, but we are actually offering it pretty much at the level in which that you leave for the UK. The other component that we provide is through our sister concern, Scots Hunt in the UK. We do a lot of facilitation in terms of projects. We have given projects to universities in the UK, and that could be on varied areas. It's not focused only to Indian students. We pretty much open it to all. Wherever we have a corporate link, we basically provide that. And of course, with the post-study work visa that's coming along very, very soon from next year, perhaps that's going to be an added support that's going to come on from us in terms of that particular transition that you need to make. Over and above all of this, of course, we do tell you that the career services of universities are extremely very helpful. Robert Gordon has got an excellent career services, and that's something that for students to actually tap on as well in order to build your career into the future, and perhaps for the 2 years that's coming up in terms of your post-study work visa. So this is pretty much what I wanted to cover from my end, and perhaps at this moment in time, I'll perhaps hand over to Kadir.
Thank you, Nidhi. Nidhi spoke about mentored academic progression, and we got excellent mentors for civil and architecture, and also for environmental. We got Vetri, who graduate from Scotland, and he's a civil engineer with vast amount of experience in construction management. And we got Mogania, who's also joined this discussion. He's a well-reputed architect, and he's also a postgraduate from abroad, and he's an entrepreneur as well. And we got Adrian, who's an expert in environmental engineering. He's also did his post-graduation in Scotland. Well, Morgan, we're very happy to have you here. And could you please share some thoughts about the opportunities that exist for students in the field of architecture, and also share a little bit about your experience. Nidhi, next slide, please.
Thank you, Kadir, and good evening to everybody. And it's an honor to present our ideologies and make this world a really good place for everybody to live in. And for students, as a mentor, we are trying to come up with a system. It's a long lost system formulated by Japanese, and it's called Ikigai. And by following this, we mentor our students exactly looking at their strengths and weaknesses, and this will lead them to expertise new areas which they didn't really focus on, and we even guide them to it through tutorials and all those stuff. So that's about it. But we also have a process which really involves the students to understand what real architecture is, and by this way they can think about the society, think about their needs, and think about the solution they can provide to the real world. Yeah, And do follow our organization in LinkedIn. It's called ICOA. It's Innovative Career Opportunities for Architects. So I think Kadir can take it from now.
Thank you, Morgan, for a brief talk. And as Nidhi pointed out about Lumina, what ScotsGrad is known for is we help students to identify the skills, do a skill assessment, have a one-to-one discussion with mentors like Morgan, and also make you understand what are the objectives of the program. For example, we got the architecture-specific programs at Robert Gordon. We make you understand what are the different programs that can be pursued by students and what are the market opportunities that exist for unique for these programs. So Nidhi, you spoke about Lumina, and as an engineer, what do you think about skill building from a personality trait standpoint?
Well, I think in a true sense, the technical aspects of learning happens in a degree, and most of the time the behavioral side is seen as separate from the technical side. So, this is a very important component. The blend is extremely very critical. And I think that the world is getting to such a situation where we need to actually blend our personalities, behaviors would actually need to go together as well. That's a very important component to actually look into. So it's not just pure technical anymore. So there's also a component that comes together when it comes to understanding of different personalities. And that's the reason why collaborative work is more successful, because we'll have to recognize the fact that somebody else is not going to be the same as me. And that's the whole idea.
True. Especially for an architect, he has to have the consulting skills to frequently interact with clients, to understand the requirements and be patient enough, and think big as well. The UK has introduced a post-study work permit, so students can stay back and continue to remain in UK, and they continue to remain in UK post 2 years as well, as long as they have a valid job offer. And for architecture, obviously UK is a very attractive destination considering its legacy, its history as well in terms of heritage and other things. Well, we also have got Michelle from the international office from Robert Gordon. Thank you, Michelle, for joining, and a few minutes for you to give us some more insights for student community about Robert Gordon.
Fantastic. Thank you for having me. Again, I hope I am audible. And I'd just like to also thank you for this opportunity to make my debut on YouTube. So there we go. This could change my life forevermore. So thank you very much for that and for your hospitality, both to ScotsGrad and our valued college partners. My name is Michelle Duncan. I am part of the international student recruitment team at Robert Gordon University. Our university is based in Scotland. This is a Scottish accent that you're hearing, so you've got a really wonderful international flavour to our time together this morning. So to echo what Nidhi said, this is just fantastic that technology allows us to have these opportunities. So I have some slides for you. At the moment, I can only see the cover slide. Somebody else is controlling it. Perfect. Thank you very much. This slide here is really just a snapshot of a little bit of the background and the emphasis that Robert Gordon University puts on our student experience and our responsibility as a education facility for our students, not just helping you whilst you're with us, but really supporting you to go on and have a long and successful and varied career, as Dr. Theo mentioned. So in the slide in front of you, you can see kind of some of the key points about RGU. We're a very international university with lots of different nationalities. We have a real kind of emphasis on entrepreneurship and self-motivation and drive. Everything we do is underpinned by the fact that you're actually just a student for a very short period of time, but you're going to be a professional for a very long period of time. So we really need to make sure that we're giving you opportunities, exposure, and also the ability to be able to embrace your education today to go on and have a very successful future tomorrow. If we go on to the next slide. Fantastic. So, and the next slide again, I'm going to tell you a little bit about our entry requirements, because hopefully my colleague Theo has really inspired you both around your profession, which is architecture and the built environment, but also by sharing that flavour of what we put our focus in the Scott Sutherland School of Architecture and the built environment. So you're feeling nice and inspired, so you know what you want to study, but now you need to know if you would be able to study. So this in front of you, you can see our entry requirements. They are specifically for our Indian students. I'm delighted to share that we have welcomed hundreds, thousands, possibly definitely of Indian students over the years. So in terms of entry requirements, what we hope, if you're coming on to say a master's level program with us, we hope that you have a bachelor's level qualification that's with a result, an end result of either second class, 55% or higher, 2.67 if you're on a 4-point GPA, 6.0 if you're on a 10-point GPA scale. So that's what we ask for in way of entry requirements, academic requirements. The next slide is going to tell you the other kind of admissions requirement that we have for you, and that is around your evidence of English. So again, if you're coming onto a master's program like the one Dr. Theo was speaking about, then we ask that you have an IELTS, which is a English language test, an IELTS score of 6.5 or higher, a Pearson's PTE score of 6.1 as an alternative to IELTS, or if you have in your class 12 English exam, if you have received 65% or higher from any board, both central and local and state, then that is all we ask for as evidence of your English. So really, if you got 65% or higher in your class 12 English, you meet our English requirement, and we would not ask for you to take an additional exam. Something to let you know, because this might be a little bit different than India, we don't require any kind of admissions exam or additional test to get admission into our university. We require your evidence of your bachelor's level study, we require your evidence of English, and we require a supporting personal statement. So those are the three things that will unlock your future at Robert Gordon University. No specific admissions or entry exam is required. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so now we're getting into the money part of it. So you know which subject you want to study. You know that you are academically qualified to study. So let's have a look at the financial factor, because that's a really important conversation that we need to have about, you know, is it financially achievable for you to join us? So on the screen in front of you, you can see a kind of a rough breakdown of the tuition fees that we charge our subject here at Robert Gordon University. They have been converted into rupees there to make it a little bit easier, but do double check for the most up-to-date exchange rate, because this exchange rate was done a few months ago, but it will give you a guide to roughly what you can expect to pay by way of international tuition fees. If we go on to the next slide though, so that's maybe the bad news for you. But on the next slide, I have some good news for you. So I'm really pleased to share that every single student that joins us from India does receive a discount on their tuition fees. We give a standard £2,000 fee reduction for all Indian students. So regardless of if you are a class topper and your GPA is 9.9, or if you're somebody like me who's just an average student doing their absolute best, but sitting at a grade point that perhaps might be overlooked by academically driven scholarships, everyone gets a scholarship when they join RGU. So that's locked in, guaranteed, no additional effort is required on your part. I'm pleased to say though, we actually have some extra scholarships that we can offer our students from India. These are competitive scholarships, so we are taking up a level in that you do have to submit an application, and there is an expectation for you to kind of really put some effort into these scholarship applications. In return for that, however, you stand to either win a scholarship of £8,000 or £10,000 if you are successful in receiving either our Saltire Scholarship, which is co-funded with the Scottish Government, or our Great Scholarship, which is co-funded by the British Council. If you remember that previous slide, we were talking about tuition fees of between £12,000 to £17,000, and the architecture course fees. And Theo, don't hate me for not remembering exactly. I believe the architecture fees sit around just under £13,000, £14,000 mark. So if you were successful in getting the Great Scholarship at £10,000 or the Saltire Scholarship at £8,000, you can see how that would completely change your financial profile. So definitely worth exploring more about the scholarships we can offer. And you'll find those on the RGU website, which is rgu.ac.uk/India. I think we've got a couple more slides, but not too much longer, because you've been very patient and we're very grateful for your attention this afternoon. I think we've gone to the I'm not too sure of the order. Anyway, so this is me. My name is Michelle Duncan. I'm based here in Aberdeen in the campus that you can see behind me there. But I've also got a fantastic colleague, Megha Malhotra, who is based in India as an extra level of support for our Indian students who are considering their future at RGU. And we work very, very closely with our colleagues here who've organised the event today, Scotsgrad, who have helped facilitate many students that have wanted to apply from India to come and join us in RGU. So we've got a real dream team, I like to think, to support you if you are interested in finding out more about coming to study with us. And is that the last slide? Yay, there we go. Pretty much last slide there. So just again, thank you very much. If you are considering overseas study, it is something that will completely change your life. I'm confident to say that, having experienced it myself. And as Dr. Theo shared, that kind of global perspective that you get from broadening your horizons and experiencing new countries, new education systems, and new practice, and so on, particularly in the area that you're interested in, is really, it really is a fantastic thing to consider. So I really hope you've enjoyed our time together this afternoon, and that you'll let us know if there's anything we can do to help you.
Brilliant. Thank you.
I just wanted to say just one thing in terms of joining architecture. There is a requirement for a portfolio, but
yes.
During the admission process, you will have the chance also to talk with us in terms of your portfolio. So we can actually advise in certain cases, if maybe a component in IELTS is not really that good, we can provide essentially a clause where if your design portfolio is really good, then we allow you to enter the university. Now, during admissions, essentially, I'm going to be the one looking at the portfolios if you actually do apply. And I'm very happy to actually have a discussion with you on what is needed.
Thank you, Theo. Thank you so much, one, for that offer, but also for making that clear, because I should have caught that when I was saying about what the essential parts of your application was. So yeah, that's bonus. Not only did you correct that, but you've also given the audience a nice invitation to kind of contact you if they've got any queries or doubts about the portfolio piece as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle. Well, students can post the questions in Q&A section, and post that we'll have a closure with vote of thanks. So students can post the questions, and Dr. Theo will be available for another 5 to 10 minutes to answer all your queries with regard to the subject as well as with regard to the admission process. Dr. Theo, I mean, so what kind of portfolio you'll be looking at from our mission standpoint, and what constitutes a good portfolio?
Sorry, I was muted. Essentially a series of, we don't have to see a lot, right? So it's not quantity, we're looking for quality, and more so what we want to see is the thinking process behind the design. So let's say you have from what I understand, the Institute has a 4-year degree in architecture. So the last 2 years, maybe 2 or 3 projects where the student not only shows us the output, so plan sections, elevations, and 3D renders or sketches, but also maybe 1 or 2 pages where they explain what the brief was and how they thought about taking from the brief until the final result. This is much more valuable to us to understand what the student is attempting to do rather than just the output. It doesn't have to be long, right? So anything from 10 to 20 pages showing a range of your abilities, right? So we're not only interested in showing something beautiful, but something that is very well thought and very well constructed, let's say. And don't worry if you think that maybe a particular skill is not strong yet. We can work on that, right? So if you're not good at sketching, but you're really good in 3D modeling, right? Show us really good 3D models. If you're really good at sketching, but your 3D models are not really that great, show us more of sketching, right? So work with your strengths. Don't try to be, good at everything. No one is, right? So it's a case of bringing your A game forward and communicating that.
Thank you. So, students should do they have to learn any softwares before coming up in order to prepare for the course, in order to do well in the course?
Well, they don't have to learn any software to apply for the course or get admitted, right? There is no requirement for that. During the course of the masters, they will have the opportunity to learn Grasshopper and Rhino plus Blender. And if they're really interested into BIM, then we offer a tuition into Dynamo and Revit, so customizing essentially a BIM software. I am a big believer in building skills that will stay with the student for a very long time. So we're not only trying to learn and teach particular software, but actually how to pick up any software like that easily, right? So we learn principles and long-term strategies so that you're able, even if something changes in the market, you're able to adapt much more easily.
Okay. So from a master's courses standpoint, I mean, what would be the option, I mean, for students at RGU?
So there are 2 options in terms of the master's course. So one is the REBA Part 2, which is excellent for anyone that would like to practice in the UK. It is a 2-year-long course. And then the other option is the one I'm leading, which is Advanced Architectural Design, which takes essentially 12 months, 3 semesters. So from September to September. And these allow you to essentially practice in many other countries than just the UK. We've built up masters with our mind looking towards international students and more so in particular Asia. So because I've lived in China for 6 years and I know there are particular needs more so in these countries. A lot of the things that we are doing within the course are with a connection to Asia. A characteristic part of that is the fact that the final semester, the dissertation, the student has the option of actually locating their project within their home country, and we assist them in actually translating the knowledge into the knowledge and environment of their home country. To give an example, my student Irfan, who is from Iran, he took the drone project as I was presenting it, and he translated it into his dissertation into an assembly of a traditional Iranian dome from his own hometown. So from that point of view, we try to, as much as possible, take into account the context and the culture of the student, and not only give them a high-tech capability, but also the knowledge that they have in terms of the architecture they've learned, translate them with a high-tech potential.
Thank you, Dr. Theo. I think your inputs are very crucial for students who wish to pursue higher studies in UK and even at RU as well. I'm sure you'll be available for a one-to-one discussion with them when they apply at RGU to get more insights as a program lead. Well, I would like to, we come to the end of the presentation, and I would like to invite Professor Ashok Kumar, who has a great 2 years of experience, 2 decades of professional experience in architecture and landscape design and multidisciplinary coordination of several building typologies. An alumnus of first batch of SRM and Masters in Landscape Architecture from School of Architecture and Planning, Chennai. He has a strong academic leadership, which is displayed through his contribution in setting up new architectural departments in various universities. He is a great visionary leading the SRM department, and also an active member affiliated with various professional bodies like Indian Institute of Architects, Indian Society of Landscape Architects, and Institute of Valuers. He was also a former secretary of ISO LA, Tamil Nadu. Sir, we would like to invite you and also like to thank you for your presence, and please propose vote of thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Kadir. Good morning and good afternoon and good evening to one and all present here, these different time zones. It's a great to hear architect Dr. Theodoro Dounas on this topic, automation, built environment. Really, this is the upcoming topic, and it's a valuable topic too. On behalf of SEED, School of Environment, Architecture and Design, SRM Ramapuram, we thank you, sir, Dr. Theo, for your valuable time and expertise in this automation in building environment. As technology advancement and Industry 4.0 and 3D printing and production using robots and other tools are getting momentum nowadays. As architects, as present architects and future architects of our school or other schools as well, need to be ready and become familiar with these approaches. Today, Dr. Theodore have exorbitant case study on this field of studies. We thank you, sir, for your gesture and sharing your experiences today evening. We SEED happy to be hands together with Scotsgrad and Robert Gordon University and Scotsgrad for bridging the SEED and the eminent speakers for their efforts and connecting the ends together to meet, especially Mr. Didi and Mr. Kadir for their continuous support and happening of this webinar as well with Dr. Theo. As a SEED Architecture Department, SRM IST, SRM University, would like to extend our continued relationship with you and tie up with you MOU with your organization and explore further and guide our fellow students, architects as well. Our heartfelt thanks to our SRM management, our director, dean for their continuous support and encouragement to conduct, to make webinars and make MOU with other universities and other eminent speakers and Scotsgrad like personalities. We thank our coordinators from Scotsgrad, Nidhi, Mr. Kadir, and our faculty member, Professor Vijayashree, and our technical team, all of them who are all directly, indirectly supporting for this webinar. And thank you. We thank all our students, faculties, architects who are all joined today's evening, and all of them who are all involved and gained knowledge and experiences. Of course, Scotsgrad will guide them in future studies as well. We thank you one and all present here. Thank you for the evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Theo, and you always been generous in giving your time for all these webinars, and these are excellent initiatives from Scotsgrad as well as from reputed institutes like SRM. which enables student community to gain an understanding of what's happening at international level, the field of architecture. Thank you, Dr. Theo. Thank you, Michelle. And once again, a big thanks to Professor Lokesh, Professor Ashok Kumar, and Professor Vijayashree. And looking forward to work with you closely to facilitate meaningful collaborations with international reputed universities like Robert Gordon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Looking forward to seeing you again.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram, is a world-leading institution pioneering in education since 2004. SRM Ramapuram is embracing technologies for the best learning experience. Specialized programs in electronics and communication engineering, civil engineering, information technology, mechanical engineering, electrical and electronics engineering, computer science engineering, architecture and design, dentistry, Faculty of Science and Humanities, film and media studies. Students connect with a holistic learning environment, enjoy a vibrant campus life and experience all-round experiential learning in collaboration with leading industry players. The Institute is recognized nationally for its excellence in placement and higher education. SRM Ramapuram offers the students an ecosystem to support entrepreneurship, sports and inspire students in all their extracurricular endeavors. Conveniently located within Chennai City, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram. Learn, lead, lead. SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram, is a world-leading institution pioneering in education since 2004. SRM Ramapuram is embracing technologies for the best learning experience. Specialized programs in electronics and communication engineering, civil engineering, information technology, mechanical engineering, electrical and electronics engineering, computer science engineering, architecture and design, dentistry, Faculty of Science and Humanities, film and media studies. Students connect with a holistic learning environment, enjoy a vibrant campus life and experience all-round experiential learning in collaboration with leading industry players. The Institute is recognized nationally for its